So for my project, for my poster on my country, I chose to focus on elemental problems or environmental problems in Brazil. So, and the main two focuses are the pollution in Rio and then the destruction of the rainforest. So just a brief background on Brazil. Brazil is located in South America. It is one of the largest countries in South America. It's in the northeastern or northwestern part of South America. It has a population as of 2016 of just under 210 million people, which makes it the fifth largest country in the world. It has a very diverse ethnicity. It's made up of whites, of mixed people who are both white and black descent, blacks, Asian, and then there's a small number of people who are indigenous to Brazil. Brazil's most common language is Portuguese, as it was taken no claim in the 1500s by Portugal. Brazil's history is also similar to the United States, where European settlers settled in, and they when they settled in, they killed off most of the indigenous population because it has declined drastically over the years. Um, the slave trade was also big in Brazil, where it actually acted as a central part of a central location where shipping African slaves to the Americas. So that is why Brazil has a large black and white population. Um, the most popular sport in Brazil is soccer. It operates under a democratic government where everyone is required to vote in Brazil. But like any other country, Brazil has its share of problems. They include high murder rates. Brazil is often referred to as the murder capital of the world, where some cities actually have murder rates as high as 60 people per 100,000, which is extremely high. Um, it has cities with lots of pollution, as we saw during the Olympics. Rio has lots of pollution. That's due to poor um, government being corrupt and not having money or not following through on what they're planned on doing, and just not enough irrigation systems. Uh, the destruction of the tropical rainforest is also a growing problem in Brazil. Over the years, the size of the Amazon has decreased drastically, and political corruption is definitely a huge part in Brazil, which is part of the reason why their former president had to be stepped down due to corruption. So, for the investigation of the issue, I focus on like I said earlier, pollution and deforestation. So, pollution was the main focus of the Olympics, seeing how it was in Brazil or in Rio. And a lot of big problem with their pollution is they have lack of irrigation. So a lot of the sewage that from the favelas, a lot of their sewage just goes right outside and then into like the water. Like there's no formal sewage system like we have in the United States. So theirs just goes out into the water. They just have raw sewage that just goes outside, and people can smell it, breathe in it, which also fosters disease and sickness. A lot of diseases come from the raw sewage, which is definitely a huge problem in Brazil. Um, in Rio, raw sewage actually some of it is dumped in Guanabara Bay, which has caused super bacteria to form in the water. Which during the Olympics, that was actually a bay that rowers had to row in, so they were advised to close their mouths or else they would get infected the super bacteria, which would cause them to get sick. And there actually was a 8-month test done from the Rodrigo de Fuentes Lake, and it actually contained over 1 billion viruses from raw sewage, and that's a huge problem. I mean, that's water if people wanted to drink or use for other resources, they can't because they would get very, very sick from it. So that's actually obviously a huge problem they need to want to get corrected in Brazil. And then, like I said earlier, deforestation. A lot of the rainforest in the recent years has been cut down. They've seen like a dramatic uh, de- uh, dramatic decrease in the number of trees in Brazil, and many of it is due to um, illegal activities. So like the players involved are for pollution would be the government, because they haven't done enough to stop it or to invest any money into creating solutions to the pollution. Where they promised, they tried to make promises before the Olympic Games start, and we all saw how that went. So they've had a lot of corruption, and which actually halted the solutions to their pollution problems. And actually, another player for deforestation is just illegal timber companies, because most of the trees which are cut down in the forest are actually done in illegal activities. So it's not even, it's all illegal. They like we have the drug problem here. It's kind of like they have the timber problem there, where most trees are cut down through illegal ways, where they would do it in illegal ways, but they'll get legal documentation allowing it, which is a problem, because the government is really not really cracking down on it. Like they try to, but there's so much corruption around that they can't really do anything. In the state of Pará, which actually had between 2011 and 2012 had was the largest timber producer, and 78% of the timber during those years was actually done illegally, which the government has tried to crack down on major players in the illegal timber industry, but it's hasn't really done much. So for possible solutions, they have made efforts to clean up the water. Various NGOs from different countries have went into Brazil and tried to set up temporary water treatment plants to clean up some of the water, and have actually offered incentives to people who actually pick out the garbage. They actually offered to make it for more money. So that would be one way that they could do it. I would also suggest they need to other foreign countries need to come together for maybe to aid, like maybe the UN or something needs to come in and aid and have an actual plan of how they're going to clean up Brazil, instead of just relying on the government, because if they do that, obviously nothing's going to get done. And another thing is, I think they should do is make it mandatory to recycle, establish recycling centers and for Brazilians, so they can recycle their stuff instead of just all throwing it away, because they have a lot of landfills which are being filled up, and everybody just throws all their garbage in their cities. As for deforestation, the solution that's been enacted by the government, they have a special task force which is to go in and seize control of the land and make it protected under Brazilian law, so they can't cut it down. Because actually there is 50% of the Amazon is actually government-owned land which cannot be cut down. So that what they're trying to do is crack down on more areas where illegal timber is being harvested, and going in those areas, seizing control of the land and protecting it under the government so it can't be cut down. Which I believe is a good idea, but I mean it needs to happen on a larger scale. They're trying to do it, and it's making progress, but there's a lot more they could be doing. Even setting up various rangers, like park rangers, not really like in the Amazon, to monitor, because it's a big area. But if you have various people their only job is to monitor the different things going on, then that could actually help too. So all in all, that's a project on Brazil, and yeah, that's all I had. Thanks.